My front porch does not look like the front porch of a wannabe amateur woodworker. It's very boring and empty, and most of the plants I had didn't survive last year's record-breaking heat we had here in Las Vegas. And this rug screams, I'm on welfare, and I eat government cheese.
So in today's episode of An Idiot with Tools, I'm gonna build a planner. And don't worry, it's not gonna be one of them boring box planners. It's gonna be an awesome planner. It's gonna have lights, it's gonna have a sign, it's gonna have flowers and wood, nails, glue. All right, it's still a planner, but it's gonna be an awesome planner. You wait and see. Let's get to building. I'm gonna build my planner bench around this little plastic box planner that I bought. So that way I can put the plants in here and then out rotting the wood. And then I'm gonna build the bench around it. So now I gotta take my measurements off of this and then I'll know where I'm gonna start.
Now you don't need one of these boxes. I got mine from a local gardening center. You can build yours just with wood. So the opening of my planner bench is gonna fit underneath this lip. So the lip kind of covers the cuts. So I need about 22 and 5/8, I would say. So after I got all my measurements, I had to sit down and do some calculating, and that was tough. I'm building the whole planter bench out of pickets I got from my local big box store with the orange sign. I'm using two different types. I'm using the 5.5-inch cedars they had, and then I'm also using these 4-inch Gothic looking things. Now you don't have to use these. You can always cut down the cedars on your table saw if you have one, but if not, then here's an option for you. Whenever I cut anything bigger than 24 inches on my miter saw, I got to open the garage door so I have enough room. It's been 214 days since we've had rain in Vegas and we finally broke the streak. I'm starting with the box. I built the box first and I'm making this up as I go, kind of like I do on job interviews. So before I start nailing this together with glue and all that, I want to make sure everything fits right. So I'm doing a little bit of a dry test. When I measured these, I measured the edges, of course. So when I get it in here, the middle kind of can bow in. It's a little bit bowed. So I'm going to make these end pieces a little bit smaller so it fits better. Okay, so other than shortening those things up, everything else looks pretty good. The two side things fit in there pretty good. I'm just going to shorten all these smaller ones up, which will be good because I can put them all on there at once and even them all up. So here's my cut sheet so far for the box itself if you want to pause the video and write this down. I'm assembling everything with just glue and brad nails. And I'm using these corner braces just to help me keep everything square while I put it together. When I use these to make my cabinets, some people were talking crap. If you're gonna use those, you're not a good woodworker. And to that I say that I'm not a good woodworker because I'll use whatever I can to make the job easier for me. If you guys are wondering what this top board is for, the planter's gonna look like a fake bench or a faux bench, however you want to say that. So it's going to have fake handles that sit above this, and I don't want plants underneath the handles. I mean, that would just be stupid. And anybody that watches my channel knows I don't do anything stupid. Lies, yeah. Now that I got the box built, I'm just trying to figure out how the rest of the bench is going to come together. Now, I said earlier that I'm kind of making it up in my head as I go, and that's only partially true because I've seen different versions of this bench online and different planners, and I'm just trying to take the best of what I've seen and bring it together in my head. Now I just clamp these pickets on here to see what height looked good to me, and then I measured it, and you're not going to believe this. I think the ghost of woodworkers past are guiding my hands on this one because look at this. I put this picket from the bottom of the box at exactly 24 inches. Now it doesn't look exactly 24 in the picture, but that's because I'm at an angle. When I go straight, it's exactly 24. Then the scrap piece I was using as the main support is exactly, I'm building some sense, 42 inches. That's like the numbers reversed. I'm being embodied by Tim the Toolman Taylor or something. Now that I got all my parts figured out, it's time to cut it all up. Be sure to measure twice, cut once, oh fat woodworker. I messed up on the feet and I had to recut them. These boards are 5.5 inches thick, so to keep an even reveal, I did 5.5-inch legs on them. But I also wanted a handle up here, so I had to recut it, and I'm gonna do 5.5-inch feet, 5.5-inch for the board, and then 5.5-inch, and then a handle at the top. Hey, hot stuff, want to see my wood? Hey! I'm using a scrap piece of fence as a spacer, so when I do them all, they're all exactly 5.5 inches. The feet are all exactly 5.5 inches. I am not the sharpest crayon in the box, so I like to mark where I have to stop with the glue so I don't go over that. I shook this bottle for like 20 minutes, but I'm starting to get a feeling that I'm I'm out of glue.
I really wanted one of these glue bottles so I could be like all the cool woodworkers. With that, you got to buy a gallon of glue. Hopefully I use this gallon up before it dries up, because out here in Las Vegas, things tend to dry up really fast.
So if you see me slathering everything in glue, you know why.
Like a pro.
I tried to square everything up the best I could, but unless you're going to mill all these picket fences, you're not going to be able to square everything up. Everything's bowed and cupped. But that's part of what I love about working with the picket fences like this. I didn't have to worry about sanding anything. I didn't have to stain anything. And you could be a little bit more relaxed on things being perfect. The only thing I did try to square up a little were these back support legs, beams, whatever you want to call them, because I'm going to have the little pickets in between here. And if they're crooked, it's going to look like a crackhead's teeth. The two legs that I cut short, they're going to make great armrests. I want to cut the same 45s in them though. I always mark the same side when I'm doing the cut like this, and then I flip it over and there's no mark there. So I'm like, oh, duh. Made a little spacer the same height that I could put in the back to make sure I get these level when I'm nailing them in. Surprisingly, through this whole project, even with all the nails I used, I didn't have one blowout. I don't know how I did that. Okay, so the bottom part of the bench is good. I'm changing some design things I just thought of while I was doing this. I'm going to leave these 45s. I was going to cut it flush, this top piece that goes across. I don't know what you want to call that. I was going to just leave it flush on both sides, but I'm thinking I'm going to do this 45 and let it do that. Let it overhang a little bit. And then in keeping with consistency, I want this overhang to be the same as this. I try to keep all those things the same. I think it makes your project look better when you have consistent things going on. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Okay, here's another cut sheet for the remaining pieces, besides the little slats that go in the back, and those are just 24 inches long. My boy's in his Costco hoodie today. It's cold out, huh, buddy? So to lay out the smaller, thinner pickets in between the two larger end pickets, I just found the center. Then I found the center of the center picket and lined them up and clamped it on there. Then I used my woodworker force, and I just kind of eyeballed where the other pickets went. Use the force, young fatawa. So if you don't have a good eyeball and you want to figure this out with a tape measure, what you do is you measure what you got left over, because you're putting two boards in here. And I got 10 inches. I'm going to make it 9 inches just because that's going to be complicated to try to explain. This is just a real quick thing. So say you got 9 inches left over. Now you're going to split that area into 3 sections. So you would do 3 inches each. And you're like, well, it's 2 boards. Why 3 sections? Because it's going to be 3 gaps. So you want to go, you would go 3 inches, make a line, go 3 more inches, make a line. And then that would be your 2 lines for your center of where your other 2 boards would be. And then I just made sure all my spacing was on point. And I didn't use any kind of spacer. If you want to, you can. To me, when you're working with a bunch of bowed boards and warped wood, it's better just to eyeball it and get it aesthetically straight rather than try to get it square. If that makes any sense. We're going to take down each one and glue it and nail it. So if it helps you, you can make a line on both sides of the board so you know exactly where to put it back when you glue it. And I've been training my whole life to glue stuff up. I just pretend these are all them toaster strudels I ate all them years. The only problem with learning how to do a glue up from toaster strudels is sometimes you want to lick the icing. To hang my sign, first I found the center of the support beam, then I marked the center of the sign, then I measured in 2 inches from each edge of the sign. That's where my hooks are going to be. And then I transferred those marks up to the support beam. I had a bunch of those 1-inch brass hooks left over from that jewelry holder that I made in the last video. So I used some of those and I installed some in the sign and in the support beam. And then I just hung it up. Now for the words on the sign, I'm using my X-Tool S1 to cut it out of a piece of wood. I did my first welcome with just the wood color, but I don't think it pops enough on here. So I'm going to try another one with white. So I spray painted the wood white. Now I'm going to use the laser engraver and cut it out. I like to paint it first so that you still get the black outline around it when it burns it. That's my favorite part of using a laser cutter is you get that black outline and it gives you like a 3D effect. So I'll leave a link to this X-Tool S1 in the description if you guys want to pick one up. These are a game changer if you're going to be selling stuff on Etsy or anywhere, because you can personalize stuff, and that's the best selling stuff on Etsy is the personalized stuff, so it kind of pays for itself. But if not, you can always use a vinyl cutter. You can buy the words and phrases off of Amazon. I think Walmart even sells them. And last but not least, you can always make a stencil. And then I attached my letters to the wood backing with just CA glue and some activator spray. I wanted to add some lights to it because I've seen a couple with lights on them. I thought it looked pretty cool. So I got these hooks and these lanterns off of Amazon. It was a pack of 4 lanterns. And I'm really glad I did because you got to see how great it looks at night. And if you do crappy woodworking, just add lights to it.
I hung it upside down.
Dang it, I almost made it through this whole project. Okay, I guess it wasn't a huge mistake, but I still messed up. If you guys thought my semi-amateur for slow people woodworking was a sight to behold, wait till you see my semi-amateur landscaping for slow people. It's a doozy. Alright guys, what do you think? Nothing says I'm ready for spring than some freshly planted flowers and a new planter. It's right up there next to my daughter's green Crocs with the flowers all over them. If you guys like this font, I got it off Etsy. I'll leave a link in the description. My favorite part about this planter is you don't just get to enjoy it during the day, it also looks good at night. Now all those late night Amazon delivery drivers will have something to look at when they're dropping off my anal itch cream.